Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is November 20th, and today's episode is going to cover on-chain voting being enabled. We're going to be talking about some more issues around the legal stuff about DAOs from yesterday. On top of that, we're going to be talking about some reports coming out of the various DAOs in Rocket Pool and a whole lot more as well. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so we're still kind of celebrating the 500th episode that came out yesterday, and actually we have Sleety who made a POAP for this. So there's a thread under trading saying 500th episode of Rocket Fuel POAP. So Sleety made this POAP. It just says Rocket Fuel 500, and it said Rocket taking off. It says 500 episodes from August 15th, 2022 to November 19th, 2024, which is absolutely lovely. I said, if you want to get this POAP, what you need to do is share your favorite Rocket Fuel episode or what your listening ritual is to get the POAP. So we started getting some people who shared like the Atlas Bullcast episode. Lulu said, I'm a simple man. If I see a Rocket Fuel link, I just click it. Dr. Doofus likes the one where I was covering something serious, but on the screen there was some filth from him, which of course is always lovely. Ramiron watches while showering, so that's great. Here, Shokas watches whilst on the way to the fiat mines on the way to work. Sneaky Ninja Guy says that favorite memory is of me wearing the Cult Down mask. Oh, I should have gotten the Cult Down mask out just for. No, I don't have it near me right now. And then others, like Yum Cookie Yum watches in the evenings, and Veterinary here listens first podcast in the morning, and each day when starting their walk, listens to Rocket Fuel first, and then Daily Gway, which is amazing. And Lee likes every episode where positivity comes across. And there were a whole lot of other memories shared here that were really cool, like the fire alarm chirping for a while there, and some of the memes that came out of that. But other people just sharing nice thoughts and nice vibes. So they will all get this POAP from Sleety, and yeah, I should send out in a couple of days' time. So if you want to leave a message in that thread, the link is, of course, as always, in the description. So go and check that out. Okay, let's move on to some serious stuff now. So this on-chain governance, this of course was activated with the Houston upgrade. However, there was a small bug with on-chain voting, so it wasn't enabled. And now that the team is back from DevCon, it has been enabled. So, I covered this on Rocket Fuel yesterday, talking about, it potentially coming soon. Well, just a matter of hours later, on-chain voting was enabled. So Halul was talking about it in trading, and I kind of agreed with him that we have been waiting for this for such a long time, and we've been expecting this to happen for such a long time, and when it actually ended up happening, it was just like this transaction on the Events DAO channel, and that was it. So it says pDAO bootstrap mode enable governance, and that's it. It's been enabled. So that of course is really exciting. It means that we can actually do things on chain now, which is pretty cool. And we actually had a little bit of an update here from Nick and Hululo having this discussion in the website channel, website feedback, saying that, are we going to have a front end for voting? Just curious because the voting system should be enabled soon. And Nick says, I'll have to get back to you in a few days on this. I have to check with the team and the exact rollout dates. This was before the rollout happened. He says a few of us got sick on the way back from DevCon, so we're not at full capacity yet. And then there was some other talk about messaging, like signing messages and stuff. So it looks like we'll get the front end maybe before the end of this week, maybe at some point next week. And then we can potentially do a test vote, which would be pretty awesome. And we'll have on-chain voting. And on-chain voting isn't, going to cover everything. There's just certain parameters that the pDAO will now have access to. And these are the ones that were in the bootstrap mode before. So it was a Teams wallet that was controlling those settings, and now that will go onto the pDAO. So that of course is really cool, and it should be the case that we can direct funding and money that comes in, inflation, all that kind of stuff, and change some of the protocol settings as well. And yeah, it's going to be a nice set of powers that the community is going to be getting. Some of the voting will still happen off chain, but some of it will be like, yeah, it's you'll see soon enough when we get the first votes coming through, probably a test one, and then probably inflation distribution, because that's a monthly task that happens, and Langas is the one who does it every month pretty much. So we will hopefully be bringing that into the community, which should be exciting. Okay, yesterday I spent almost the whole episode talking about the ramifications of the Samuels versus Lido DAO case and how the judge didn't dismiss this case out of hand. Well, we're starting to feel the consequences of it in the Rocket Pool community already. And one of those consequences was Jasper making this statement yesterday saying that I will be stepping down from all my Rocket Pool positions until legal protections are in place. He says specifically, I will be removing myself from the ODAO split, which is the money that Jasper gets as being on the same kind of on the same splitter as the rocket scientists. So he said he'll be removing himself from that. He'll also be resigning or stepping down temporarily from the IMC, and removing his delegate profile from the Rocket Pool website. So that means that people who have already delegated to Jasper, they would be welcome to delegate to someone else. Otherwise, their votes, I think this also means that Jasper is going to stop voting in votes that come up. So unless you want your vote to not count for anything, the suggested thing would be to delegate your votes to someone else or delegate your votes to yourself. And of course this there were some jokes. We were joking at the time about how we're all going to go onto one cell block in jail together, and Joe and I were the ones who would be sharing a cell, and we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons and chess while we're in prison. But yeah, the Jasper basically is just kind of stepping back, and I wouldn't be surprised if some other people might do something similar, but I haven't seen anyone taking those steps or even talking about taking those steps yet. But I'll let you know, of course, if that happens. And then we also got this meme from Drez, which I thought was really amazing. So there's a really big guy, for those of you who aren't watching, there's this really big guy in the prison cell and the really tiny guy next to him. And the big guy says, "So what are you in for?" And the little guy in the next panel says, "I was on the Rocket Pool DAO." And then the big guy goes and hides in the corner. So yeah, that was a really nice joke. I actually got 19 keks, which is actually a really high number. So great job with that, Drez. I really like that. And then we got some more crypto lawyer takes about this, kind of complicated the matters a little bit and like kind of where we stand. So here, Crypto Tax Guy said some thoughts on the Lido decision. So he says on Monday, a court in the Northern District of California denied a motion to dismiss the lawsuit against Lido DAO, and then there's a link to the actual ruling. It's a lot of smart people have already said a lot of stupid things about the decision. Now it's my turn, and this is a thread with 21 tweets. And he says, first, this is a ruling to dismiss, which means the judge had to accept the plaintiff's allegations as factually correct. Of course, once that goes to trial, then you can start poking holes at the statements the plaintiff made. After that, the language from the judge, the plaintiff alleges that Lido DAO has deliberately diversified shared treasury, not just LDO tokens, and does business stuff with it, like deploying it to pay people. Now, the Rocket Pool community, in the pDAO, we just hold RPL, but with the GMC, we hold some ETH. No, not ETH, sorry, LUSD and a little bit of ETH. With the IMC, we hold RPL and some ETH and RETH, I think, as well. So those are diversified treasuries. Yeah, so that is something that we have to pay attention to. After that, Crypto Tax Guy says that they constantly maintain the on-chain arrangement involves diversified treasury. It's probably a tax entity, especially if the treasury does business-like things, which the GMC definitely does. And then after that, there's once there's an entity under state partnership law, the members can be jointly or severally liable for its actions unless a statute like LLC or Inc. Overrides that default rule. It says there's an unresolved question of who the members are, but the court leaves that for another day. So what do you do? As usual, the answer depends on risk tolerance. On one hand, the court seems to see all DAOs as a way of people in the crypto world to inoculate themselves from liability by creating novel legal arrangements to profit from exotic financial instruments. Then the crypto tax guy says, that said, this is just one judge's view on the motion to dismiss. And if you've listened to me for the past few years, you'd know that DAO is a meaningless term. In reality, there's some voting arrangements that are entities and some that are not entities. So it says, as table stakes, if you don't want the voting arrangement to be treated as an entity, don't have a diversified treasury, don't make all votes self-execute, i.e. the vote either calls a function or doesn't. So that's kind of like how we'd have on-chain voting. No multi-sigs. And it says, don't say DAO, it's not an organization. So then he says, in my view, if you observe rule 1 to 3 above, that's just parameter selection. It's like if Netflix irrevocably granted its viewers the ability to vote on which movies get featured, and the vote was automatic, so the viewers aren't seen as Netflix shareholders. It says the analysis gets harder if there are streamed to fees that stream to holders. The fees need to be streamed. If they sit in the treasury, that violates rule 1 above. I don't think direct from protocol fee streams typically create an entity because I don't think the parameter selection is a business. And there's some more details here as well. So I've pretty much read half the thread, but you guys can read the rest of it. It seems like there might be some other options that the community has, and it looks like there's steps being taken to find legal representation or at least get some legal consultation and how it might work. So about the wrapping, which is what seemed like the path to take, says why not just wrap the DAO? He says that's an option too, but I don't think everyone calling for wrappers fully appreciates what they're suggesting. Wrapping means conceding that governance tokens are an equity in an equity, and that the entity owns the protocol admin keys. It says to prove the entity owns admin keys instead of the keys sitting outside the entity, you typically need to sacrifice decentralization by having one or more officers or directors own those keys through a multi-sig on behalf of the entity. That increases rugging risk. So there's 23 tweets in there. You can go and read them, but it looks like this is going to be kind of murky. And the hope is that the Trump government will either just say that these aren't securities, which would make things a lot easier, or they would get some kind of legislation like Fit 21 passed, which could potentially make the path to being a commodity clearer and give safe harbor laws as well for protocols, and that would kind of negate a lot of these issues. Okay, so talking about the DAO, well, here we have a pDAO treasury report, and Vaka here he says, hello Rocket Pool. This is a monthly report for up to November 20th, which is today, from October 24th. So it says, if you need an intro on how the pDAO treasury works, you can read this post. So it says, this period, the pDAO reserve received 6,542 RPL from inflation and spent 52,079 RPL funding protocol development for another year. The balance of the pDAO is now 46,646 RPL. The IMC and GMC were paid 11,067 RPL for the IMC and 4,540 RPL for the GMC. It says, due to a problem with the IMC's recurrent payment test, the IMC has a debit of 62 RPL, which will be discounted next period. It says you can keep up with the pDAO treasury with the following spreadsheets, and there's a link to the spreadsheets. So thank you, Vaka, for sharing that information. And next, we have another report from the pDAO, and this is from the IMC, and this is the IMC's period 29 report and the period 30 budget. So Sam has here put together a report saying that for period 29, it gives you breakdown of the costs. The important points are, we finished moving our Ramses liquidity, and you can see the updated non-RPL and proof of liquidity asset value, protocol on liquidity asset values showing the changes. It says our hidden hand transaction for the first fortnight wasn't completed in time, so the funds were transferred to Val, and an alternative method of directly incentivizing with USDC was used. Discord also sees the links in the IMC tracking sheet for more info. And then yeah, that's in the Discord. You can see that information, and the IMC continued spending budget cut by calculating values with artificial 0.005 ratio, and of course the ratio is down now to 0.0031. And they said that that we got inflows and outflows that pretty much balanced out. And there's a budget summary. So RPL balance change. So 0.06% change from 3,500 RPL to 3,520 RPL. Extrapolated months to zero RPL balance. So since we have now a balanced budget or slight surplus, we can continue to spend at this rate indefinitely. So there's no budget, deficit right now, so that is a lot healthier. But of course, we would want to spend more money if we had it. I think the IMC could spend potentially 10 or 20 times more money than we do now to really boost Rocket Pool growth. Sadly, we just don't have the money to do that. So that's where we stand. With the budget, then there's continued spending budget cut by calculating values with artificial 0.005 RPL ETH ratio, and the inflows outflows should be identical to period 29, leaving us with the same balanced budget with a slight surplus. And then in terms of the 1% price impact, liquidity is trending slightly down. This is likely due to the RETH DPEG discount to NAV, something to keep an eye on, and the IMC will discuss this. And then there's resources here you can find as well, like tracking sheets, etc. So thank you so much for Samus putting together this IMC period 29 report and period 30 budget. That's really helpful to keep an eye on where the money is going and how it's being spent. Okay, we talked on yesterday's episode, I think, or the episode before that maybe, about DeFi Llama making a miscalculation with the way that they're calculating Rocket Pool's TVL. Jasper reached out to people who work at DeFi Llama, and they're kind of trying to figure it out. It seemed like they were getting their data from different contracts and then weren't actually putting it together correctly. And Jasper basically, with people, help from people in the Rocket Pool community, kind of help them see where the problem is. Here Jasper asked, actually, let me just read out. So this is the message from the DeFi Llama people saying, seeing significant difference with our data. I can revisit the adapter if needed, as I may not have had all the information when I worked on it recently. It says, to detail the approach I followed, I mainly use the Rocket Node Manager contract, which provides a complete overview of your mini pools, and then there's like the different contract calls. It says, then I iterated over all the mini pools that track the ETH matched together, which results in approximately 526,000 ETH. He said, then I also used the another contract to cross-check my data, and that gave the right number. He says, however, there's still a discrepancy of 200,000 ETH missing in my calculation in this case. So then Jasper asked Halul and Pateris, do you know how to fix this? And the information they got back was Halul said, if he wants an easy solution, he should probably just call the total active mini pool function and multiply that by 32. He says, not sure if you want to include staked RPL, but I'd say that should count, which is what I think as well. So I think that's the easiest number to work it out. You just get the number of mini pools, you multiply that by 32, and that will work until max EB gets implemented at the Rocket Pool level, and that should be straightforward. So I think Jasper actually suggested that, and then that's what that person responded. He says, who said that person actually ended up doing more work and a worse job of it. He says, for a detailed solution, probably best to look at what Rocket Watch is doing, but the simple version is close enough. So Jasper said this is what he's going to reply, saying, if you want to, you can use that metric to show node operator bonds and RETH value separately. You can total active mini pools, multiply by 32, and subtract matched ETH for the node bonds. And he says, is this fine to send? And Halulu said, if they're iterating anyway, it might well use the node ETH provided function to get both sides, but should come out to the same thing. So then Jasper was just asking for some clarification questions. So it looks like that information has now been sent to the DeFi Llama people, and hopefully there should be some clarification on those numbers. But I really do think that, Rocket Pool's TVL should be a few different numbers. It should be the amount of ETH that is actively staked. So that is the mini pool count multiplied by 32 to get the amount of ETH. It should be the amount of RPL staked, which is just over 10 million right now. So that adds, about $100 million worth of TVL there as well. And it should also maybe count the ETH overflow and the deposit pool numbers, but that I could be convinced of in the other way, but that's just how I see it. And with all those numbers together, we'd actually get a really nice amount of TVL, much better than that minus 60% they're showing on their website. Okay, in some staking news now, we have a new client update from Geth. So this is Geth 1.14.12, and Geth says that this release covers quite a lot of time and has many changes across the code base, in particular changes in tracing and account management, optimizations in database, tree and EVM, and as always, some bug fixes. And then there's just a detailing of what it does. So you can read that. And see if any of this applies to you. I'm not a Geth user, and none of you should be Geth users either, I don't think. So maybe this isn't really applicable to you all. Actually, let's just have a look at client diversity. I know that it's looking really good. We haven't actually looked at this in a while. So with the Geth numbers here, wow, that's amazing. Geth is now down to 43%. Nethermind is at 36%, according to clientdiversity.org here. That's fantastic. Bisu is at 17%, Aragon is at 3%, and Reth is now at 2%. But that is way, way healthier than we were a year ago. A year ago, it was kind of existential. And of course, we had those bugs on Nethermind and Bisu that I think got everyone's act together and really made a strong move. But this now is much better than we were a while ago. So yeah, if you want to use Geth now and you've just got one or two validators, then go ahead and use Geth. That's okay. But still, it's better to use Bisu. I use Bisu. Or if you want to use Reth, then I think that's available now on the smart node, but I'm not certain. But on the consensus side, it looks a lot healthier. So Prism is at 35%, Lighthouse at 33%, Teku is at 25%, and Nimbus is at 8%. Ideally, I'd like to see 5% from Lighthouse, 10% from from Prism, and all of that going to Nimbus. That would be really good. But hey, this is great. And Lodestar, I think, sadly have really fallen off. They have 0.01% now. They actually did a nice little campaign trying to get people to join with Lodestar, but it didn't last long, I guess, sadly. Okay, let's move on to some Ethereum news now. And the Ethereum news we have today is starting with this 21 Shares introduces staking to its Ethereum ETP for European investors. Now, 21 Shares, of course, is part of the ETH ETFs that they have with ARK. I think ARK 21 Shares is what it is. And I think that, we're close to ETF applicants trying to ask for two things of the ETFs in the US. One is to allow in-kind redemptions, so you can bring your crypto and you can take out your crypto. And the second one is a staking ETF. And it seems like these guys are kind of positioning themselves for that. Bitwise, of course, bought a Testant, and now 21 Shares is setting up their European ETF staking. Yes, 21 Shares here with, I think it was ARK. I'm not sure if ARK is still involved or not, but 21 Shares have CETH, and that is a very, very small ETF. It's only got $23 million of TVL, $24 million of TVL, but that it's one of the approved ETFs for Ethereum. But it's a staking thing, I think, that's making a move. Now, this isn't groundbreaking in the fact that there were already staking ETFs for ETH in Europe and in Canada. But I feel like as you get more coming online, we'll get a bit more momentum. And with more momentum, we will get those happening in the US potentially in 2025, which could be a bullish catalyst for ETH, the asset. However, it's going to bring up some issues on the back end of Ethereum, and hopefully we can avoid those. And here we have some theories of one of the reasons why the ETH price is not doing so well these last few days. Thomas here has a post saying a significant portion of ETH selling has come from Celsius. They're selling their BTC and ETH to fund the corporate creditor supplemental distribution, and that has now completed. So it turns out that they actually had a lot more ETH than BTC. So the sell pressure on ETH was potentially in the billions of dollars. Here we had Anti-Prosynthesis saying Celsius has been forced dumping billions of dollars of ETH. They had a lot more ETH than BTC. explanation for the anomalous flows, perhaps. So the idea is that, a lot of cryptos are doing well, even with L1s, and it looks like ETH was the one that was a laggard. I think I saw a stat today that in the CoinGecko top 50, ETH is the only token that is one of the only tokens that's down across 7 days. So here ETH is down 2.9%. This was earlier today. Someone was saying this in trading. I guess other tokens have moved down since then. But ETH, BNB, Doge, after that huge pump, Shiba Inu's down actually more. So yeah, Shiba Inu's down more than ETH, but before that, ETH was the most down in the top tokens. RapTest that doesn't count. And then, so basically, as I'm looking down the list, in the top, for their dog with hat as well. So it looks like, and BitTensor. So they're just like 2 or 3 tokens that are underperforming ETH in the top 50, with all the rest of them outperforming ETH over the last 7 days. So, maybe that's a bit of an explanation for why ETH has been lagging and why we've hit new lows on the ETH BTC ratio. But hopefully, the time to bounce will be soon. And on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.